Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, romantics. I'm here with author Poppy Kuroki to talk about her book, Gate to Kagoshima. Welcome, Poppy.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
I just wanted to thank you for taking me back to 19th century Japan. I gobbled up the streaming Shogun series. I'm sure you're getting this a lot, but and I mourned the ending of that when it was over, and so spending time with Isla and Kay was just a real treat. And I don't always get the final copy of the book, but this one has these beautiful sprayed edges,
I'm so
and I
happy for
just
you. You got the final
yeah.
copy. How
Isn't that
exciting!
beautiful? I just love the cherry blossoms on there and the silhouette of Isla. It's just gorgeous. Are you very happy with it?
Oh, I absolutely fell in love with the cover when they first sent it to me.
Oh,
I
I
love the
bet.
colors on it, especially the
Yes,
sun in
it
the
is.
background is gorgeous.
And they've got it on the side, and maybe I've missed it before, but I don't know that I've ever seen it where it's like, pink on one end and kind of a purplish on the other end.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of transitions, I think, with the side of it there. It's just
That's such good
a
design.
lot of detail, so much detail on there. It's amazing. So you are in Japan, and which sounds amazing. And it's so funny because before I came up here, I heard on the news that Japan is like in the top three locations or destinations for those of us in the States and has been for the past 3 years. So you're living the life there that the rest of us want to come visit and see.
The book certainly came out at the right time, doesn't it? Didn't it?
It sure did. Absolutely, it did.
Japan's
If
getting,
you,
I think, sorry, three
no, go
million
ahead.
visitors a month, I heard right now.
Oh my
Japan is saying,
gosh.
which is
Oh
a
my
lot.
goodness.
But I would not recommend anyone visit in the summer. It's just way too hot and humid.
Is that okay?
Yeah, my
All
mum's
right.
visited a few times, and just because she's a teacher, she has the winter holiday. So just by coincidence, she's been in Japan 3 times for New Year's. But she's never awake. She's
Okay.
never awake. We're never awake through that midnight. But I've told her don't come in summer because I don't want to go outside in the summer. So I'm not touring people around in summertime. So
It's
maybe
the
that's
same.
why.
Yeah, it's the same here in North Carolina. It's absolutely gorgeous, but in July and August, it is so steamy. The dew point is just out of this world. And so we don't get out too much in the summertime here either.
Yeah, it's like you're
But
coming here voluntarily in the
yeah,
summer.
I know.
I was in the UK last summer. It was glorious. I missed half of summer here. It was amazing.
Uh, nice. Well, it's great that you have that ability to be able to go spend
Yes.
spend the summer in one area in one country and spend winter in another country. That's great. All righty. So why don't you get us started and just tell us a bit about yourself?
So I'm Poppy Kuroki. I've lived in Japan for 10 years now, and Gate to Kagoshima came out in the UK in June, and then it's out on the 28th of January in the US. And aside from writing, I like video games and cooking and traveling, and I love history as well. And my passion for history helped me write this book.
Yeah, great. Well, while we're talking, since you mentioned the book already and we've been talking a little bit about it with the cover and everything, can you give us just a quick description of what the book is about?
So Isla's a quarter Japanese on her maternal grandfather's side, and he always wondered if they were descended from samurai. So after he passed away, she decided to find out in his place. So she travels to Kagoshima, and a typhoon and a strange gate take her back to 1877, the dawn of the Satsuma Rebellion. And she knows what's going to happen. The samurai are doomed in this upcoming war. So how can she get home? Can she somehow warn the samurai of what's going to happen? And can she save the man she's come to care for?
Hmm. Yeah, it was that was that was rough to read, as she was
Yeah.
going through those battles and, knowing what was going to happen and trying to make them understand. And how do you make them understand when you can't tell them you're from the future? And
Exactly.
yeah, it's just yeah, that would have been quite gut-wrenching to be in that kind of position. And um, I thought you showed that to the reader just brilliantly. So good job on that for sure.
Thank you.
So you obviously you have a connection with Japan, but what made you want to write this book at this time?
I wanted to write a story of a romance between a Western woman and a samurai, because samurai are often portrayed as kind of stoic warriors who are honorable, and they're not humanized that much. And you don't often see like Asian men as love interests either. And I was inspired a bit by Outlander. And I thought, oh, the time travel aspect would be really fun with that. And when I was researching different parts of samurai history, the Satsuma Rebellion really stood out for me, and it fit really well with the story I wanted to tell.
How fun was it to include your own last name or surname in the book? That when the first time I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's great.
That was a placemaker. Like that was a what's the word? It was supposed to be
Yeah,
temporary.
right.
I was like,
Placeholder, yeah.
I'll placeholder. Yeah, I was like, placemaker's not the right word.
Yeah.
Placeholder. Um, and then it just ended up staying there. So it
Yeah,
wasn't
I like that.
intentional really at all. Um, but I thought it works as well as any other name, so let's
It
keep it.
did. It absolutely worked. It didn't feel weird or anything as I was reading it.
Oh,
So it
great,
was,
great.
yeah, it was wonderful. Um,
Well, that surname is very common in that area as well, so it fit.
okay.
Um, my husband is from Kyushu, which is that area of the country, so it fit well as well. There were
Okay.
plenty of Kurokis there.
Nice. So one of the things that I like to dive into on this show is the story's undercurrent. It's the that second beating heart of the story, the thing that flows beneath the lover's journey. It could be the theme, a shared experience between your protagonists or your hero and heroine. Really anything that helps propel them towards their happily ever after. What do you think is the undercurrent flowing beneath Isla and Kay's love story?
So you've got the time travel, right? And then they're both from different countries and they're both from different times. And you've got this, I guess, like desperation coming, like they're star-crossed lovers, right? So you've got the war looming, and their love is not kind of boy meets girl and they start dating, conventional meeting, right? So it's a kind of reluctant love almost, because it's like, no, I
Hmm.
need to get back to my own time. I shouldn't be falling in love with this guy. And so it's sort of the history and the romance is sort of, I don't know if it's half and half, but they're kind of, I wanted to have it fit together nicely.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, I'm going to call it bookending, how you started it in the like the cafe or the coffee shop, and so I don't now I'm thinking about that. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but okay, sorry.
No, no,
No.
no.
Okay. All right. I thought that
I know
that
what you're
was a
saying, the
yeah, it was a
connection that's
very
made.
nice way to kind of wrap up the story, so that was great. I love that. Uh, let's see here. I had one question here. Oh, I wanted to mention that I noticed that you've written other fantasy books, it looked like.
Yeah, a couple of independent ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
What makes you love writing in this subgenre? What draws you to this particular subgenre of fantasy?
I think a lot of um millennials love fantasy, right? Because we grew up on the movies, the Harry Potter, the Lord of the Rings, Narnia era. I've noticed a lot of people, well, not only millennials, of course, but a lot of people love fantasy
Hmm.
because it's kind of almost nostalgic of what we were reading and watching when we were younger as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think reading nowadays, I don't really read that much fantasy nowadays, but I definitely grew up reading a lot of fantasy and playing a lot of video games that were set in that kind of setting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm more
So,
historical. I'm leaning more towards historical fiction now, but definitely
okay.
growing up, it was like fantasy and not much else.
Yeah. With the historical aspect, and this might tie into what I normally ask closer to the end, is this an area and time period that you'll continue writing in for a little while, or is this kind of a standalone book? It said series, I think maybe on the Amazon page or something like that. So I was kind of curious if there would be more with this, either this couple or just in that time period.
Um, the next, I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about the next one yet, but
Okay.
the theme of time travel in Japan is the same.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Okay. So
I
mum's
need
the
to
word.
make
We
sure, I
can't.
need to check how
Yeah.
much I'm allowed to say because I don't say anything just in case. Um, but there will be more books that kind of follows that theme, if you like, of different
Okay.
parts of Japanese history.
All right. Well, we got a little nugget of information there. Thank you. That's great. All right. What about romances that you might have read recently? Do you have a romance that it doesn't have to be romantasy or historical romantic fantasy? Any that you've read recently that you could recommend and maybe tell us why?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I was read when I was writing Gates Kagoshima, I was like, I need to read more romance to figure out the formula and what makes good romance. So I read some Ali Hazelwood, like Love
Mm,
Theoretically and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
And of course, A Court of Thorns and Roses as well. If you have an Instagram account, you can't escape for that series. And I really enjoyed that series too. Yeah, it was kind of for enjoyment, but also for research, right? How to write good fantasy, good
Yeah.
romance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah J. Maas, I could probably, if I had purchased every iteration of her book covers, I could probably fill a whole
I
bookshelf
know
because
she's
I
got so
wanted them
many.
all. I mean, they even made these little miniature books of them, and I'm just, oh, I have to stop. I just love that series so much, and yeah, it's great.
Oh, me
Uh,
too. Yeah. I remember I read them all in like a couple of weeks, I think. Like I was reading other things in between each book. But you know, when you I remember opening Frost and Starlight and it just felt like coming back to friends. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like all my old
absolutely.
friends.
So
Hello.
comfy. Yes.
Yes, exactly. I need to read her new series. Newer one, The
Mm.
Crescent City.
Yeah, that's more of an adult, I think, fantasy. Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's really good. I haven't read the third book yet, but it's good.
They are big though. They are thick books, aren't they?
They are what I would call a tome, yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like her Kingdom of Ashes book. They're about that thick.
What's
Uh,
that saying? Like a good book. Every woman needs a good book to read and also to defend themselves with. So if you've got a big tome, it's
I have not heard that one yet, but I will remember that one. That's great. Can you think of maybe two or three tropes in this book that readers could look forward to?
I'd say real history, um, star-crossed lovers, I guess, and I guess time travel, right?
Yes.
Yes,
All right. Sounds
maybe
good.
the
All
three
right.
main ones, I suppose.
Okay. Great. And let's see here. Oh, I wanted to ask you, where do you like to write? Do you have a place in your home, like an office, or do you kind of move around? Do you go to coffee shops? Just kind of curious about where you write your masterpieces.
I'm afraid I'm a little bit boring that way. I just have an office, and that's where I get most of my work done without anyone
Yeah.
else around. Sometimes I'll play music. Um, it's like I don't know what it's called, like concentration music you can find on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, the ones without lyrics. Um, but yeah, it's very much when my son's at school or when he's asleep. It's like, oh, I've got half an hour. Let's get some work done. Yeah, I don't go to coffee shops because I'll just get distracted. I like reading at coffee shops though, very much, or on the train. Yeah, I'm a little bit boring that way. Some people are like, oh, I can write anywhere. I can write on the train, and I'm just like, no, it has to be a quiet office.
I'm kind of I mean I've changed a little bit over the years, but I used to have complete silence in
Mm.
my office, nobody around. But now I can kind of be where people are and start tone, especially if I've got some noise canceling,
Mm.
earbuds or something like that. But I tend to people watch, and I'll get distracted by people watching. The oddest things. Now you mentioned music, but do you have any I don't know, like routines or superstitions maybe that you might do that helps get the creative juices flowing before you can start writing?
Oh, yeah, like a hot drink and a blanket if it's cold like it is today is always nice. But I don't want to say I am a busy person, but for me it's like I'll get more done if I've got an hour or two free than if I've got the whole day. Because if I've
Yes.
got the whole day, I'll just mess around and do this. And oh, I've got loads of time. I'll just check this. So I'll just, you know. Whereas if I've got an hour, that's when I'll sit down and be like, I've only got 1 hour. Oh, I've done
Yeah.
2,000 words. So
Yeah. Focused time. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, when it's limited, you use it better, I think.
I agree. I agree. When I was working full time, I feel like I was getting as much writing done at that time as I am now when I
Yes.
can fully devote my time to writing. It's ridiculous. Uh, okay. So Gate to Kagoshima releases on January 28th, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so be sure to order your copy today. Poppy, before we go, can you give us a hint? Well, you already gave us a hint. See, I already did this question. So we have a little bit of a nugget about what might be coming. We know it's going to be maybe in the same era, maybe the same time travel. But other than that, we'll just have to hang in there and wait. Until then, we just have to, not just have to, but we have this wonderful book to read and tidy us over. Where is the best place for readers to connect with you online?
Instagram's my favorite. So I'm Kuroki Books, Kuroki Books. I use Threads as well, and I have an X, but I don't really use it. So Instagram is
Okay.
definitely the best one. If you want to send me a message, I'll always see it. Because
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. What about a website? Do you have a website? Is it
Not
just
yet. I keep meaning to sort that out, but I
okay?
haven't quite yet. But coming soon, coming soon.
Okay, no worries. All right, we will make sure we get your Instagram link into the show notes then. Well, Poppy, thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for joining me. It was lovely talking to you. I've never spoken to anybody living in Japan before, so this was a great first for me.
Oh, great. Lovely.
And many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone. Bye.